Okay, so in crystal geometry, there are several subtopics which we will discuss: crystal lattice, motif, 7 crystal systems, 14 Brevis lattice, and Miller indices. We will begin with crystal and lattice. This is two related concepts, but quite often the distinction is not made clear and then it can get confused. So we will spend some time on a very clear distinction between crystal and lattice. Motif is the linking bridge between crystal and lattice. Afterwards, we will focus mainly on lattice and see how the lattice can be classified into 7 crystal systems and 14 Brevis lattice. We will end this section with discussion of Miller indices, of directions and planes. So, we begin with the definition of crystal. What is a crystal? So you can pause here and think about what is your definition or what is your concept of crystal before I gave my definition. Okay, so we will define crystal as a 3D, that is three-dimensional periodic arrangement of atoms in a space, which we call crystal. In this picture, you can see a three-dimensional periodic arrangement of atoms. This is a unit cell of sodium chloride. The blue atoms you can consider as chlorine and red one as sodium. And what we meant by three-dimensional periodic arrangement, that these chlorine and sodium atoms are repeating in each direction at equal distances. So for an example, if we look at along the cube edge, we start with chlorine and then after certain distance you can find a sodium and then again chlorine. So that is what is meant by periodicity. So this is a crystal of sodium chloride, also known as common salt. We will discuss this crystal structure in more detail as we go along. At this moment, I am showing you just an example to begin with. Okay, now I come to the related concept of lattice. What is a lattice and how is it different from crystal? So, a lattice is a three-dimensional periodic arrangement of points in a space. So, the difference between crystal and lattice is whether the points are being considered or atoms are being considered. Otherwise, both are three-dimensional periodic arrangement. This is the reason for confusion between these two concepts. So, you can see a crystal will be a physical object. It will have physical properties like weight, density, electrical or thermal conductivity, and so on. And lattice in contrast, it is a geometrical concept. So it cannot have these physical properties, but it will have only geometrical properties. Okay, so now we can express the relationship between crystal and lattice by an equation, that is crystal is equal to lattice plus motif or basis. So what is the basis or motif? Actually, this basis or motif acts as a linking bridge between crystal and lattice. So if you want to define these bases, it can be said that basis is that it can be said that an atom or a group of atoms associated with each lattice point is called a motif or a basis of the crystal. So let the concept more clear. Lattice gives you the underlying periodicity of crystal, whereas motif gives you atom or group of atom which is periodically repeated. That means lattice tells you how to repeat, motif or basis tells you what to repeat. So when you have both this information, that is how to repeat or what to repeat, you can get the complete information about the crystal. So this is the pictorial presentation of crystal and lattice, that how they are related with each other, and how the crystal structure is formed by lattice and the basis. Okay, so now we will look at little bit more detail about lattice. We begin with lattice translation, which can be defined as any vector from one lattice point to another lattice point. Here you can see the red line vector and the black line vector. So these are the example of lattice translations. Of course, a lattice will have many such lattice translations. Okay. The unit cell can be defined as a region of space which can generate the entire lattice or the crystal by the repetition of lattice translations. That means you can say that the unit cell is a connected region of space which can generate entire lattice by the repetition of lattice translations. Commonly, a unit cell is a parallelogram in two-dimensional or a parallel pipe in a three-dimensional with corners at lattice points. Now, the next important factor is lattice parameters. The length of these lattice parameters can be defined as the length of three edges of the unit cell and the three interaxial angles between them. Like in this pictorial representation, you can see the length of three edges in the x direction of this cube. In the x direction is A, in the y direction is B, and in the z direction is C. And the interaxial angles between A and B is gamma, between B and C is alpha, and between C and A is beta. Okay, so these are the lattice parameters. Okay, so on this basis of the lattice parameters, there are 7 different possible combinations of A, B and C, and likewise alpha, beta and gamma, each of which represents distinct crystal systems. The 7 crystal systems, these 7 crystal systems are cubic, tetragonal, hexagonal, orthorhombic, rhombohedral, monoclinic and triclinic. The lattice parameter relationships and unit cell sketches for each are represented in this table. You can see the cubic system where A and B and C are equal, and alpha, beta and gamma is 90 degree, has the greatest degree of symmetry, whereas the least symmetry is found in the triclinic system, where A, B and C is not equal to each other, and likewise alpha, beta and gamma is not equal to 90 degree. Okay, so we will now discuss about crystal structure, which is called face-centered cubic crystal structure. Some of the familiar materials having these crystal structures are copper, aluminium, silver and gold. Okay, so in this crystal structure, that is in FCC, the atoms located at each of the corners and centers of all the cube faces. That's why it is called face-centered cubic crystal structure. If the cubic edge length is A and the atomic radius is R of the sphere, you can say the unit cell edge length for FCC is A equal to 2R root 2. Okay. In FCC crystal structure, each corner atom is shared among 8 unit cells, whereas the face-centered atom belongs to only 2. Therefore, 1/8 of each of the 8 corner atoms and 1/2 of each of the 6 face atoms, or a total of 4 whole atoms, is assigned to a given unit cell. The cell comprises the total volume of the cell comprises the volume of the cube, which is generated from the centers of the corner atom. Okay. The another two important characteristics of a crystal structure are the coordination number and the atomic packing factor. Coordination number is nothing but the each atom has the same number of nearest neighboring atom or the touching atoms. Like in face-centered cubics, the coordination number is 12. As because the front face atom has the 4 corner nearest neighboring atoms surrounding it and 4 face atoms that are in contact from behind, and the 4 other equivalent face atoms residing in the next unit cell to the front. Okay, so total there are coordination number of FCC is 12. Another important characteristics is atomic packing factor, which is nothing but the maximum possibility of packing for a sphere, all having the same diameters. For FCC it is 0.74. It can be defined as the volume of atoms in a unit cell divided by the total unit cell volume. Okay. Okay, so in this slide, it is proved that the atomic packing factor for the FCC crystal structure is 0.74. Okay, so first of all you go through this. If there is any problem, you can ask me later. Okay. Okay, so another important related problem is it is very important that the for calculation of volume of an SCC unit cell in terms of atomic radius R. Okay, I think you can all understand this problem easily. If there is any problem, you can ask me later. Okay, so next cubic crystal structure is body-centered cubic crystal structure. It has a cubic unit cell with atoms located at all 8 corners and a single atom at the cube center. That's why it is called body-centered cubic crystal structure. Likewise, if the unit cell edge length is A and the atomic radius is R, you can say the unit cell edge length for BCC structure is A equal to 4R by root 3. The pictorial representation, this picture represents the structure of the BCC crystal structure. Okay. So, in this cubic system, two atoms are associated with each BCC unit cell. That is the equivalent of one atom from the 8 corners, each of which is shared among 8 unit cells, and the single center atom which is wholly contained within its cell. So the coordination number for the BCC crystal structure is 8. Each center atom has nearest neighbors its 8 corner atoms. Since the coordination number is less for BCC than FCC crystal structure, so its atomic packing factor is also less than the face-centered cubic crystal structure, and it is the atomic packing factor for BCC is 0.68. Okay. Now the final common metallic crystal structure is hexagonal close-packed crystal structure. In pictorial representation, it shows a reduced sphere unit cell for this structure. Okay, the top and bottom faces of the unit cell consist of 6 atoms that form regular hexagons and surrounded a single atom in the center. Another plane that provides 3 additional atoms to the unit cell is situated between top and the bottom planes. The atoms in the middle plane have the as nearest neighbor atoms in both of the adjacent 2 planes. The equivalent of 6 atoms is contained in each unit cell. That is 1/6 of each of the 12 top and bottom face corner atoms, and 1/2 of each of the 2 center face atoms, and all 3 midplane interior atoms. Okay, so this is the structure of hexagonal close-packed crystal systems. Now, if A and C represents, as you can see in the picture, if it is represents respectively the short and the long unit cell dimensions, the ratio of these two, that is C by A, should be 1.633. But however, in some HCP metals, this ratio deviates from the ideal value. The coordination number and the coordination number of this crystal structure is like FCC crystal structure, same as FCC crystal structure, that is 12. So the atomic packing factor will be also the same, that is 0.74. Okay, so here we can compute the density, theoretical density for metals by this formula, where N is the number of atoms associated with each unit cell, A is the atomic weight, Vc is the volume of the unit cell, and N is the Avogadro's number. Suppose you want to specify a point which is located in anywhere which is within the cube. So how can you locate that point? That is, the position of any Suppose you want to specify a point which is located in anywhere within the cube. So how can you locate that point? That is, the position of any point located within a unit cell can be specified in terms of its coordinates. This coordinates is nothing but the fractional multiples of the unit cell edge length. That is, the unit cell edge length means that is the along A, B and C, in terms of A, B and C. So in this figure, as you can see, there is a point P is located within a cube. So we want to specify the P. How can we specify this P point? It can be expressed in terms of the coordinates QRS, where Q is the fractional length of A along the x-axis, R is the fractional length of B along y-axis, and S is the fractional length of C along z-axis. Okay. So thus the P position is can be expressed in terms of the coordinates QRS. Its value is the value of this coordinates can be less than or equal to unity. Okay, so this is a problem related to location of point having specified coordinates. So here you have the coordinates given and you have to locate the point according to these coordinates. Okay, so just go through this problem. If you have any problem to understand, you can ask me later. Okay. Now coming to the next part, that is the Miller indices of direction. When we work with crystal system, we need to specify the direction and planes of crystal. That is how we can know the arrangements of atoms within a unit cell. Okay, so Miller indexing is standard procedure for this purpose. Suppose in this figure we want to determine the Miller indices for the direction, which is the red direction along the x-axis. Okay, you have given the direction and you are asked to determine the direction of Miller indices. That is the main problem. Okay, so we will now determine the direction by step. First step is choose a point on the direction as the origin. That means wherever the direction is given, you have to choose a origin point on the direction, within the direction. Okay, that means direction should pass through the origin, or origin is so chosen that it always lies on the direction. Okay, here as the direction is given, we choose a origin point, that is O. O lies on the O lies on the direction that is given. Okay, so O is the origin. Now step 2. Choose a coordinate system with axis parallel to the unit cell edges. Here, as the direction is coming towards x-axis, so we choose the parallel axis like x, y and z, which is parallel to the unit cell edges. X is parallel to the unit cell edges A, y is parallel to the unit cell edges and Z is also parallel to the unit cell edges. Okay, though the angle between this XYZ is not 90 degree, though we have to choose the XYZ parallel to the unit edges of the unit cell. This is the coordinate system of the unit cell. Okay. Now in step 3, find the coordinates of another point in terms of ABC. Okay, that means you have to find another point which lies on the direction in terms of unit cell edges A, B, C. A is nothing but the edge length along x-axis, B is nothing but the edge length along y-axis, and C is nothing but the edge length along z-axis. Okay, so if we find the coordinates of another point which lies on the direction which is given to us, that means it is as the direction is on the x-axis, it will be 1 times of A, right, and 0 times of B and 0 times of C, right. So that is 1A plus 0B and 0C. So the coordinates will be the 1, coefficient of A is 1, coefficient of B is 0 and coefficient of C is 0, that is 1, 0 and 0. So here you can understand the direction is not only this red arrow which is given, it is the entire x-axis. That means 1, 0, 0, this direction is not only the red arrow, it is the entire x-axis. It may be in negative x-axis also. Okay. That means Miller indices of a direction represent only the orientation of the line corresponding the direction, not its position or sense. That means this 1, 0, 0 means it is the positive x-axis and it also be in the negative x-axis. All the parallel directions of these x-axis within the cube have the same Miller indices. Okay, this direction, I repeat that this direction represents only the orientation, not its position nor its sense. Okay, now in step 4, in next step, reduce the coordinates to the smallest integers. Here we have the already we have the smallest integers, that is 1, 0, 0. If you have the fractional integers, you have to reduce it in the smallest one. Okay. Now in step 5, put it into the square bracket. Put the coordinates into the square bracket. Why square bracket? Because it is internationally convention that the direction always be in the square bracket. If you do not put it into the square bracket, it cannot be considered as the direction. Okay, so that is how we can measure or we can determine the Miller indices of direction within the cube. Okay. Okay, so as I said that the Miller indices of direction represents only its orientation of the line. Okay, not its position nor its sense. In the negative x-axis, it also have the same direction. All the parallel direction have the same Miller indices. Okay, so for cubic, as you know that the edge length of x-axis and y-axis and z-axis are equal to each other. That means A equal to B equal to C. So for whole cubic, the direction like along x-axis 1, 0, 0 and the negative axis 1 bar 0, 0, along index along y-axis 0, 1, 0, index along negative y-axis 0, 1 bar 0, index along z-axis 0, 0, 1, index along negative z axis 0 0 1 bar is all represent the same represents this is symmetrical of any member of family. Okay, it represents the any direction of within the cube. Okay, so this is a symmetry family of the 100 cubic direction. Any direction is symmetrical of this family. Suppose one of the member, suppose 100, okay, 100 direction or 100 index, that means all the 6 directions. Suppose in cubic 010 you have given the 010 index, that means the all the 6 directions. Why all the 6 directions? As because it is only possible for cubic, as the 3 edge lengths are equal to each other. Okay, but for tetragonal, edge length of x-axis and y-axis are same, but z-axis are not equal to them. Okay, so for tetragonal system, the symmetric family is 100, 010, 1 bar 00 and 01 bar 0. That is the positive and negative axis of x and positive and negative axis of y. So if you given for tetragonal the direction or the index of 100, that means all the 4 directions given, all the 4 direction of this tetragonal. Okay, so this is the Miller indices of a family of symmetry related directions. Okay, there is another problem I have given to you, that is you have to determine the direction, blue line direction which is given. You have to determine the Miller indices for this direction. Okay, so what is the first step? You have to choose a origin which lies on this direction. So we have chosen O is the origin. Now you have to consider the parallel axis of this to the unit cell edges length. So unit cell edges, the parallel axis of unit cell edges length is x, y and z. It is common. Okay, now in the next step you have to find the coordinates of any point or another point which lies on the direction. So we choose any point A on the direction. Okay, so now how you can measure the coordinate of this A? So to locate this point you have to go first from the origin along origin towards the x-axis. So half times of A, if you go to the half times of unit cell edge lengths of x-axis, that is half times of A from the origin O, and then half times of B from this point to half times of B, and then 1 times of C, then you can locate the point A. Understand? I repeat, if you want to locate the point A, how can you specify? From the origin you have to go half times of unit cell edge length of x-axis, that is half times of A, half times of B, and full 1 times of C. Then you can locate any point within the unit cell edges length of A. So the coordinates are half, half and 1. So in the next step you have to reduce the coordinate into the smallest integers. So then we get that the integers number 1, 1 and 2. Then put these integers into the square bracket, that is into 1, 1, 2. So the entire OA direction represents by the Miller indices 1 1 2. Understand? Okay, this is another problem given to you as a homework. You have to determine the PQ direction on this unit cell. Please do it yourself and send me the answer. Okay? Okay. So our next topic is Miller indices of planes. That is how to determine a Miller indices for a plane in a unit cell. So the first step is select a crystallographic coordinate system with origin not on the plane. Please note that in case of direction, we always choose a origin point which passes through the direction. But in case of planes, we will choose a origin which will not be in the same plane but in parallel plane. Okay. So here the interception, here the plane um, is, if the plane is in the front face, we choose the origin in the back corner which is parallel to the plane. The origin is O here. Okay. Now in second step, find the intercepts along the axis in terms of respective lattice parameter. That means find the intersection of the plane in x, y and z axis in terms of A, B and C. Okay. In this case, in this figure, you can see that the plane intercepts the x-axis at A, B intercepts y-axis at B and intercepts z-axis at C. So the coordinate of this interception will be 1, 1 and 1. Now in step 3, take reciprocal of these coordinates, that is 1, 1, 1. In step 4, convert it into the smallest integers, and at last in step 5, put it into the first bracket. In case of direction, we put it into the square bracket as it is internationally accepted, and likewise in case of planes we put it into the first bracket. So this 1 1 1, these indices indicate the Miller indices of these planes. Not only these planes but all the parallel planes have the same Miller indices. Okay, all the parallel to this plane have the same Miller indices, that is 1 1 1. So as I said in the previous example, that all the parallel planes should have the same Miller indices. That means Miller indices of a plane represents only its orientation in spaces, not its position. Okay. So for a cubic, for an example, for a cubic, all the faces of the cubic are equivalent to each other, like the front and back faces, left and right faces, top and bottom faces. So for all cubic family or cubic plane, any of the member of this family is symmetrical to each other. Okay, so here you can see for 100 cubic family, these are the Miller indices of the plane, and any plane is symmetrical of any member of family. But for tetragonal, all vertical faces are equivalent, but horizontal faces are not equivalent to vertical. So for tetragonal family, this 1 0 0 0 1 0, 1 bar 0 0 and 0 1 bar 0 are the symmetrical plane. Okay, understand? Okay, So here is another example. You have to determine the Miller indices for this plane ABCD. Okay. So the plane is ABCD, and we we choose the origin in the back corner, that is O. So this front face intercepts x-axis at A but parallel to y-axis and z-axis, right? So we take the intercepts as infinity for y and z-axis, and for A it will be 1. Okay, so the intercepts are 1, infinitive, infinitive. So I think this is clear to you that why it is infinitive and if infinitive. I repeat that the front face intercepts x-axis at A but not y and z. It is parallel to y and z. As it is parallel to y and z, we take these coordinates as infinitive and infinitive. Okay. Now in the next step, we will take the reciprocal of these coordinates, that is 1, 0, 0. So the Miller indices of this plane ABCD is 1, 0, 0, which is put in the first bracket. Okay. All the parallel planes to this ABCD plane will have the same Miller indices. Okay. Okay, so this is your homework. You have to determine the Miller indices for this plane OCBE. Please do it yourself and send the answers to me. Okay, so that's all for Miller indices for plane and direction. Please go through this, and if you have any kind of problem to understand, please let me know. I will try my best to clear your doubt. Okay. Okay. So diffraction occurs when a wave encounters a series of regularly spaced obstacles. Okay, that are capable of scattering the wave, and these obstacles have spacings that are comparable to the wavelength. So you can say that diffraction is a consequence of relationship between two or more scattered waves. Okay. So in this figure, you can see that wave 1 and wave 2 have the same wavelength, which are in phase at a point O and O dash. Now, suppose that these waves are scattered by some obstacles. Okay, so you can say that these waves can traverse different paths. Now, the phase relationship between these scattered waves will depend on the difference in path length. So, the possible result when when the waves are scattered, that this path length difference is an integral number of wavelength. So as you can see, these scattered waves, that is, after scattering the wave 1 dash and wave 2 dash are still in phase. So you can say that these are constructive interference. Okay, that means When a two wave having the same wavelength will remain in phase after the scattering event, it will be called the constructively interference with one another. The amplitude of the scattered waves added together in the resultant wave, that is wave 1 and wave 2 have the amplitude A, and after scattering the resultant wave amplitude will be 2A. Okay, clear? The another possibility occurs in diffraction where the two waves, that is the wave 3 and wave 4, having the same amplitude and same wavelength, but after scattering it will not be in phase, that is it will become out of phase after scattering event. That is called the destructive interference with one another. The amplitude of the two scattered waves cancel one another. Okay, so this is the total, this is how the diffraction occurs. Okay, so as I said earlier that the structure of crystals and molecules are often being identified using X-ray diffraction studies, which are also explained by Bragg's law. This law explains the relationship between an X-ray light and its reflection from the crystal surface. Okay. This law is introduced by Sir Bragg and his son, and the law states that when the X-ray is incident onto a crystal surface, its angle of incidence, that is theta, will reflect back with the same angle of scattering, that is theta. And when the path difference is d, it is the difference path is equal to the whole number, that is n, and the wavelength, that is a. It will occur a constructive interference. That means when the incident beam having the same angle of incidence and the reflection, the path difference will equal to the wavelength, integer number of wavelength, and this the phenomenon will call the constructive interference. Okay, so here you can see in the figure that the incident beam 1 and 2 are in parallel up to the point for 1 is P and for 2 is Q. After they reach at the point P and Q, they strike the surface and travel upwards. So at point Q, the second beam scatters, and at point P, the first beam scatters. So the SQ and QT is the extra distance which is travelled by the second beam. This extra distance is known as the integral multiple of the wavelength. Okay, so you can say that n lambda equal to SQ plus QT, which is actually the 2SQ, because SQ equals to QT, and as the difference between the path is d, between the two layer is d, you can say that n lambda equal to 2d sin theta. Okay, so this is the main funda of the Bragg's law, by which we can determine the spacing of atom in a crystal, the exact position of atom in a crystal. Okay, so there are numerous applications of Bragg's law in the field of science. In case of X-ray fluorescence spectroscopy, These d-spacing are used as analyzing of crystals in spectrometer, or in case of X-ray diffraction, the interplanar spacing, or which is called the d-spacing of a crystal, is used for characterization and identification purpose. Okay, so this is the whole concept of Bragg's law, by which we can which is applied in the construction of instruments such as Bragg spectrometer, and used to study the structure of crystals and molecules.